The galactic tribunal's grand chamber stretched upward into darkness, its vaulted ceiling lost in shadows that seemed to swallow light itself. Crystalline pillars pulsed with bioluminescent energy, casting an eerie glow across the assembled delegates from 47 star systems. At the center of it all sat Judge Draven, his obsidian scales catching the light like fragments of a shattered night sky, his amber eyes burning with an intelligence that had adjudicated disputes across 3 galaxies for over 4 centuries. Arya Lane stood in the defendant's circle, a solitary figure dwarfed by the enormity of the chamber. At 19 standard years, she was the youngest human ever to face the tribunal. Her worn jumpsuit, standard issue from the colony ship Perseverance, hung loosely on her thin frame, a stark contrast to the elaborate attire of the alien dignitaries surrounding her. The charges were severe: unauthorized resource extraction from the Kelvar mining nexus in Sector 7. The prosecution, led by Ambassador Threxus of the Kelvar Consortium, had presented 3 hours of evidence documenting how Arya had bypassed 14 security protocols to access the mining station's food synthesizers. The human criminal demonstrates the species' typical disregard for civilized law, Threxus hissed through his translator implant, his chitinous mandibles clicking with satisfaction. She violated sovereign territory, compromised our security infrastructure, and stole resources valued at 6,000 credits. The consortium demands maximum punishment, 20 years in a correctional satellite. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. 20 years was effectively a life sentence for a human, given their brief lifespans compared to most spacefaring species. Judge Draven's massive head tilted, studying the small human before him. In his 4 centuries of service, he had learned to read the subtle tells of countless species, the nervous flutter of Andromedan wing membranes, the color shifts in Centaurian skin patterns, the pheromone signatures of the hive collective. But humans remained enigmatic, their emotions locked behind those strange, expressive faces. Arya Lane. His voice resonated through the chamber like distant thunder, the translator rendering his ancient dialect into standard galactic. You have heard the charges. You have witnessed the evidence. The data is irrefutable. What say you in your defense? Arya looked up at the dragon judge, and for a moment, everyone in the chamber saw something that made even the most hardened diplomats uncomfortable: complete exhaustion mixed with unwavering dignity. Your Honor, she began, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. I don't deny what I did. I bypassed their security. I used their synthesizers. I took food. Then you confess? Threxus interjected eagerly. I confess to the actions, Arya continued, her eyes never leaving Judge Draven's, but not to being a criminal. I did what I did because I was hungry. Because my people were hungry. Because we've been hungry for 6 months. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Such a simple statement, yet it carried the weight of something profound. Judge Draven raised a clawed hand, and silence fell instantly. Explain. Arya took a deep breath. The Perseverance was a colony ship carrying 3,000 humans to New Terra. We were in cryosleep when a solar flare damaged our navigation systems. We woke up in uncharted space, light years off course. Our food synthesizers were damaged. We've been rationing emergency supplies for half a year, trying to reach the nearest trade station. She paused, swallowing hard. I'm the ship's engineer. I volunteered to go to the Kelvar station because I was the only one with the technical skills to interface with their systems. I didn't want to steal. I tried to contact them, to ask for help, to offer labor or trade. But the automated defense systems wouldn't let us through. They said we had no credentials, no trade agreements, no standing in galactic commerce. And so you turned to crime, Threxus said triumphantly. I turned to survival, Arya corrected, her voice cracking slightly. Do you know what it's like to watch children cry themselves to sleep because their stomachs hurt? To see elderly people give up their rations so the young might live? To calculate every single day how many more days you have before people start dying? She looked around the chamber at the assembled aliens, species from worlds where hunger had been eliminated millennia ago, where replicators and synthesizers made scarcity a forgotten concept. I don't expect you to understand. Most of you haven't been hungry in generations. Your civilizations mastered post-scarcity economics before my species discovered fire. But hunger isn't just discomfort. It's not just an inconvenience. It's watching yourself fade away, knowing that you're losing the strength to fix the problem, feeling your mind grow foggy when you need it to be sharp. Judge Draven leaned forward, his enormous form casting a shadow over the defendant's circle. His voice when he spoke was softer than before. How long since you yourself ate, Arya Lane? The question hung in the air. Arya's jaw tightened. 73 hours, Your Honor. I gave my rations to the medical bay. We have 17 children under the age of 5. The chamber fell absolutely silent. Judge Draven stood, his full height revealed as he rose from the judicial throne, nearly 4 meters of scaled muscle and ancient authority. He descended from the dais, each footfall echoing through the vast space. The gallery held its collective breath as the dragon judge approached the human girl. He stopped before her, looking down at this fragile creature who had traversed the stars in a damaged ship, who had risked everything for her people, who stood before the most powerful court in known space and spoke not of legal technicalities but of simple, desperate hunger. Then Judge Draven did something that would be debated in legal circles for decades to come. He removed the ceremonial chain from around his neck, a symbol of his office, embedded with gems worth more than most planets, and placed it gently on the floor beside Arya. Then he reached into a compartment in his judicial robes and produced a sealed package, his own meal, prepared for the days-long proceedings. Eat, he commanded simply. Arya stared at the package, tears streaming down her face. Your Honor, that was not a request, Ms. Lane. It was a judicial order. Eat. With shaking hands, Arya opened the package and took a bite. The chamber watched in absolute silence as she ate, dignity and desperation warring in every movement. When she finished, Judge Draven spoke, his voice carrying to every corner of the tribunal. This court finds that no crime has been committed here today. What we have witnessed is not criminality, but the failure of our vaunted galactic community to extend basic compassion to a species seeking only to survive. He turned to face Threxus. The Kelvar Consortium will provide immediate humanitarian aid to the Perseverance, food, repair materials, and navigational assistance. Furthermore, you will establish emergency contact protocols so that no ship in distress is ever again turned away by automated systems. But, Your Honor, Threxus began to protest. Or, Judge Draven continued, his voice dropping to a dangerous rumble, I will personally investigate how a consortium station could allow a ship of refugees to starve within communication range. I suspect I would find irregularities. Threxus fell silent, his mandibles clicking in frustration but offering no further protest. Judge Draven returned his attention to Arya. Ms. Lane, you are free to go. Your ship will be resupplied within the hour. And when your people reach New Terra, I suggest you remember this day. Remember that sometimes the most civilized act is the simplest, feeding the hungry. As Arya left the chamber, escorted by aid workers already mobilizing to help the Perseverance, the delegates began to whisper among themselves. Some called Judge Draven's actions unprecedented. Others called them controversial. But in the years that followed, as humanity established itself among the stars and became known for their fierce protection of the vulnerable, for their insistence that no being should suffer from want when others had plenty, many would look back on this moment as the beginning of something extraordinary. The day when a human girl spoke truth to power, and a dragon judge remembered what justice truly meant.